Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you already know, this is your U.S. General 5-drawer tool card with side tray and deep compartment. Today is Friday, as you can see. We just now making it back over to the storage unit, getting back to it, getting busy as always. Okay. And today's segment video will be a little mixture once again between the stacking community just as well as the tool community. All right. But I ain't going to hold you up too much more longer in the introductory of things. But as I always state, as usual, I always keep my signature lingering somewhere in the background. My Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You already know. Okay, so pretty much about to get quite a few things out to the top of the tool cart. I did receive 2 packages this morning. Fortunately, wasn't technically supposed to receive them until Monday, but you know, through the graces, they arrived a little bit early, so we're going to be able to take a good visual and take a good bird's eye view at that real quick before we dive into the tool discussion of the day. All right, so walk with me. Let's get it. All right, at the prior moment, I have 2 packages sitting at the top of the tool cart. I got my box cutters out. All right, I'm going to start with this envelope first, and we're going to get right to it. Let's get it. All right, coming out of this first package, which just arrived just now, is this 1 ounce Liberty right here. This is 1 troy ounce fine silver. 0.999. This Liberty dollar has a $10 face value, as you can see here. This is the North Fed. All right. From yesterday's video, I received a couple of things. If you just happen to miss that particular video, I received couple of bars and, you know, gold unit, just as well as, like I stated, I have quite a few other things coming along. Received a couple of Libertats and things like that. All right, I wasn't supposed to receive this until Monday, but as you can see, it did arrive early, so we're gonna get a good look in. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move along to the next following package. So let's get it. All right, now coming out of the next following package, I did receive another one of my gold units. As you can see here, this is American Eagle gold bullion coin, United States Mint. All right, it's in its original packaging, so I'm gonna get this item out real quick so that we can inspect things and get a good visual. Let's get it. Just to give you a little quick brief look at the case that it comes in. All right, and it says the Department of Treasury. The case is very nice, velvet suede. All right, so as you see here on the inside, it says United States Mint. Okay, this is your 2020 Gold Eagle. It'll focus in clearly enough. This is a 220 fractional 1/10 ounce. All right, I just recently picked up one yesterday, as you can see in the last previous video, just as well as I have quite a few other things coming along. All right, so these are the 2 items, all right, that just basically came in at the prior moment. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the tool discussion of the day. All right, I'm going to get out quite a few things, got a little story to tell. This is going to be, you know, for some of them younger technicians that's coming into the game, give them a little advice and a couple of tips and things like that of that nature. All right, so let's get it. Okay, and today's tool topic of the day, All right, I'm going to discuss a few things just as well as give some advice as far as some experiences that I've had in the past. All right. But mainly first, what I'm going to do is what we're going to take a look at is two particular sets. Okay, both of the sets are made by Snap-on. This part of the segment is not based upon the Snap-on brand itself, but I will give some advice and some tips when it comes to particular sets, just as so to say is the sets that you're seeing sitting at the top of the tool cart. Okay. But first, just to give you a little quick rundown of what you're taking a look at the top of the tool cart, just to give you a little item description real quick. All right. This is a 48-piece rethreading set. This is fractional and metric. Okay. The part number is RTD8. All right. Over here, what you are taking a look at is the 76-piece tap and die set. All right. Part number is TDTDM500A. All right. Once again, this is metric and ASCE fractional. All right. Now, a lot of technicians at times, they don't like to discuss, when it comes to particular equipment like this, because, in most cases, when you have to go to these particular items, it's either because something is damaged or there was a service that was provided, all right, where that work was done incorrectly, and now an individual has to go back in and repair that particular service, all right? Which in sometimes certain things can share off, certain things may need to be rethreaded and things like that of that nature, all right? But just to give a little quick tip to some of the younger technicians that are out there, just as well, is that yes, you are seeing the Snap-on brand sitting at the top of the tool cart. Some of these items are rebranded, all right? Snap-on rebrands these items. You can find some of these same sets made by Irwin, all right? And there is a major price difference in comparison. Just as well, in this particular video, I will explain, for what reason why I actually have them in my selection of equipment, knowing that there's Irwin sets out there and things like that of that nature. All right. But just to give you, a little quick comparison when it comes to price and premiums. All right. Real quick. All right, now for those younger technicians out there that's just basically getting into the field, all right, fortunately, if you just happen to have a tool truck dealer, or just hypothetically say you actually have a Snap-on dealer, when it comes to the 76-piece set right here, when I obtained this quite some time ago, the price range was a little bit different than what it is actually now. The price has dropped slightly in margin. When I first obtained this set, the set was roughly slightly over $500. At the prior moment, it goes for $464. Okay, and that's before taxes and shipping fees, just in case you technically do not have a dealer. If you have a dealer, okay, you don't necessarily have to worry about shipping fees, but you do have to worry about the taxes. All right, when it comes to this rethreading kit set, all right, that you basically see here, the rethreading kit set, I believe roughly runs about maybe about $159, $154, I believe. And that is also before taxes and shipping, all right? Now, the thing is that when you're getting on the truck, all right, there will be smaller sets. In this particular set that you see in the tap and die set, they actually have a set that is over this, which is I believe it's a 117-piece set. All right, and that set ranges for, I think, roughly about $590 or $595 or something like that, and that's also before taxes and shipping fees. But then they also have different breakdown sets when it comes to just metric, ASCE, standard fractional, okay? And when you are taking a look at those sets right there, okay, the ASCE set can basically run you, I think it is roughly about $350, okay, and that's without the metric. And then the metric, I believe, is roughly around 309 or 310. All right, so the price comparison, as far as getting those two sets individually instead of just obtaining the whole complete full set, you'll probably be looking at maybe about $660. Okay, so there is a big difference between you paying $660 testically compared to paying $464. Now, the key to all of this is not, technically all about the Snap-on brand, because like I said, Irwin do provide these same sets, and Snap-on basically carbon copies and rebrands this set. When it comes to the Irwin set, you can pick up the whole full set for roughly about $170, okay, just as well as you can pick up the metric set, I believe, for roughly about $113 to $115, and you can pick up the fractional set, which I believe has a little bit less more units, so you'll be able to pick it up for less than $80. So there is a comparison when it comes to that, because we're getting the metric and the standard as separate units. You'll pay like $190, so that's $20 over the cost of you actually playing the whole full price for a whole full kit, which is $170. But once again, these numbers is before taxes and shipping fees and things like that of that nature. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the discussion for what reason why I actually have these sets and how I acquired them, knowing that Irwin and other brands provide the same type of sets and things like that of that nature. Okay, this is going to be a tip for the younger technicians as far as, some past experiences that I've had. I used to work in a very high professional, high volume shop where we provided certain particular types of service. All right, and one day a customer actually happened to bring a vehicle in that was serviced by another facility, and the work that they technically had done was some rear suspension work, just as well as some brake and rotor work. When we received the vehicle, I was technically doing my particular service to the vehicle, and in my inspections I just happened to notice towards the two rear wheels, back rear wheels, all right, there was 4 lugs that was cross-threaded, just as well as I believe it was the right hand side wheel that was only sitting on 3 studs, where there was 2 studs that was sheared off. Okay, when this vehicle was released to the customer, the last previous shop that provided the work, okay, they never informed the customer. So when I took notice to the visual of things, I went to the customer, I brought them into the shop, and I basically showed them. So when I showed him, this is when he started to explain to me, that he was feeling some vibration from the back of his vehicle, but he's not mechanically inclined, so he technically didn't know too much. He didn't know that one of his rear wheels was only sitting on 3 lugs, all right? So when I went to inspect the opposite side of the vehicle, all right, I just happened to notice that another stud was sheared off, and on the opposite side, the wheel was being held by 4 lugs, all right? So once I pointed things out to the customer, I went to the service writer and I went to the explain, what I basically just seen, and I advised that they changed the studs just as well as the lugs. Okay, but what had happened is that the service writer ordered the parts, and the customer, he was pressed for time. Another higher technician came by, all right, and was taking a look at the work while the parts was being delivered. So what the higher technician turned around and did is they went to their own personal tools and pulled out a rethreading kit to rethread some of the studs instead of us just basically replacing the studs. Okay, now there became an issue with that, because now the customer then now paid, all right, for brand new studs just as well as lugs. So what basically happened is that while we're waiting for the parts, the customer just happened to notice, the other technician looking at his vehicle, and then the customer walks into the shop and the other technician tells him that his vehicle is done. Okay, now that was completely wrong, because the higher technician never informed anybody, and he just took it upon himself to rethread, okay, these studs. which technically there were other studs that basically needed to be replaced. All right. So, the customer started to think, that there was a half-assed job being done to the vehicle when we were trying to follow suit and follow all the proper procedures. This is why, when you get certain vehicles in the shop, it's good for you to do a full overview inspection of your work, because when I first took a look at things, okay, I only took notice to the studs being shared off. I didn't technically find out exactly how many lugs was cross-threaded until it was time to remove the wheels, because that's not something that you can basically see on a visual. Okay, as far as studs being cross-threaded, they're not going to be cross-threaded on removal. They're going to be cross-threaded on driving purposes. Okay, so this is how we technically knew, that the last previous shop who provided the service, they never did the work correctly, nor did they inform the customer. So once we notice the work, okay, now we cannot release the vehicle because we follow procedures, and it's a safety hazard. Okay, in order for us to release the vehicle, knowing that there's only but so many studs and lugs that the wheels are being held on the vehicle. All right. So that same particular day that occurred, all right, my Snap-on dealer just happened to pop up, and there were certain particular sizes that I had in the tap and die set, but there were some sizes that I was lacking. So I was only going to pick up the metric set until I realized the price cost, you know what I'm saying, as far as the premium. And then when I went to take a look at the higher set, I realized, hold on a second, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense, to buy these sets individually, because it will wind up costing you a whole lot much more. So this is how I technically wind up acquiring, this 76 piece set, just as well as this rethreading kit set. The day that situation occurred in the shop, I actually did not have a rethreading set. Another technician actually had this set in their equipment. So this is for what reason why I picked it up, because I had come across in contact with that particular job, and then I think it was like maybe a few days later ran into another issue and another situation, just so to say the same. So instead of me having to depend upon the other technician being around, because they were the only other technician who actually had the tool in the shop, otherwise it would be a special equipment that the shop would actually have to order and provide as shop equipment to some of the technicians. So this is why sometimes it's important, to have your own equipment. Now, when it comes to these sets, as far as it being the Snap-on brand and the expense and things like that, I didn't necessarily have to move in this direction, because I could have went to the Irwin sets or, just about any other set. But when it comes to these sets, the reason why they're in play is because of the convenience. That is the only reason, because I actually have a tool truck dealer, and Kia robs very frequently. Plus, I deal with him not just, at my facility, but I deal with him on my own personal time away from the shop just as well. Okay, so this is why in a situation like that, it became more beneficial to me. Not to say when it came to the Irwin sets, we did have other auto part stores that provided us and shipped us parts that held Irwin sets, but they didn't have the whole complete set. They had the individual sets. Okay. And in, I believe, the metric set, it doesn't necessarily cover all the particular sizes. That's another thing. So there is a difference between having some of the sets, all right, just as well as I think it's the 117, because, for an individual who's multi-versatile, who technically, do not just work on vehicles, but they work on all sorts of different types of equipment. Okay, when it comes to the automotive service, you may technically go to certain particular measurements, but then now if you're multi-versatile and you work on other different equipment other than just your normal standard vehicles, then some of these other sizes may come into play, okay, that you may not necessarily use on a regular, or you may see commonly. All right. So that's just, what that is right there. This is for what reason, why I actually have these in my selection. But in my suggestion, to the younger technicians out there, I would go with the Irwin sets. Like I said, you can get like this whole full kit for like $170, $180. You rather pay the $170 to $180 than pay almost close to $500 for a set like this. I'm not saying that it's a bad set, but the bottom line is the Irwin set is not going to do any less of a job than this set will. Okay, just because it's the Snap-on brand name, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to help you be more efficient or get your job done a whole lot much more better. My theory to things is that according to how you use a tool, and if you use a tool properly, all tools should work. Okay, whether tool truck brand or least inexpensive. The only difference, you know, with a cheaper brand is that with cheaper brands, they're not designed to take on consistent heavy use, just as well as some of the tool truck brands. All right, so that's basically, you know, what separates some of those things. So, you know, weigh your options, do your research and things like that. You know, don't fall into the trap. All right. And one last thing that I do want to mention, you know, if you do decide to go with the Irwin brand, you know, I advise for you to get the whole full kit. It's more better, you know, even if you have measurements that you may not commonly use, it's better to have it than to get, to not have it and need it, all right, and get stuck without it. Because basically what happens is that when you come across a certain particular job, all right, and you lack the tool, then what'll happen is the next following individual will benefit and profit, okay, from a job that you may be more capable of or more knowledgeable, but because you lack the tool, the next person will basically take on the work. All right. All right, so we're going to end this video right about here. The weekend is here. Today is Friday the 13th. I hope everybody enjoy the rest of their evening. Keep it a safe and a blessed one. And until that next tool review, that next tool haul, that next modification video, just as well as every other piece of content that I tend to put out on this channel, we're going to check you later. Peace.